Have you ever looked at a doll, maybe, an old porcelain one with those kind of vacant eyes and just felt uneasy, like a real shiver?
Mm-hmm.
That feeling that something's just not quite right about it. Maybe it hasn't happened to you, but I bet millions of people know exactly what I mean, thanks to a certain modern horror movie icon.
Definitely.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, could be articles, research, our own notes, and we really, really unpack them. We dig into the fascinating insights.
Yeah, the goal is always to give you that shortcut, right? To get you properly informed, maybe find some surprising facts, and hopefully keep you hooked along the way.
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep, headfirst, into the backstory, the kind of chilling origins, and honestly, the surprising massive success of a modern horror legend, the film Annabelle.
Right.
And this isn't just, about a creepy doll in a movie. It's really a fascinating case study. It's about how a spin-off film, which came from this huge hit movie, just grabbed audiences globally.
Despite the critics, too.
Totally defied the critics, yeah. And somehow became this, foundational piece of a whole cinematic universe. It's a really interesting look at what drives fear, what makes money, and, what builds that lasting fandom in horror.
It really is. And for this deep dive, our main source is a pretty comprehensive Wikipedia entry on the film Annabelle.
Okay.
It's actually a great starting point. It gives a fantastic overview of the plot, which is intense. The production journey, which has its own quirks, and that really polarized reception you mentioned, critics versus audiences.
Yeah, that split is fascinating.
And crucially, its legacy, its big impact within what became the Conjuring Universe. It's packed with details, really helps understand the whole phenomenon.
Gotcha. So our mission today, unearth those key bits of knowledge. We're going to trace the story from, its eerie, supposedly real-life origins.
The Warrens.
All the way to its just undeniable, massive box office success. And along the way, we'll kind of explore those deeper questions, like what makes a horror story connect so powerfully with so many people?
Even when the professional critics are, well, not exactly raving about it.
Exactly. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's unpack this thing.
Well, let's do it.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Because the Annabelle movie, it didn't just pop out of nowhere, right? It's got roots in this piece of modern paranormal lore that horror fans probably already knew about.
Oh, absolutely. The whole inspiration for the film Annabelle comes directly from this story, this account of a supposedly real doll, also named Annabelle, of course.
Right, the famous one.
The very famous one, recounted by Ed and Lorraine Warren, the paranormal investigators. And it's important, like you said, this wasn't just made up for the movies. This doll was already infamous, really, in horror circles, paranormal communities, for years before the film.
Because of the Warrens cases.
Exactly. It featured prominently in some of their most publicized cases. They documented it, talked about it, wrote about it, which just added to this whole terrifying mystique around the object itself.
And that's such a key point, isn't it? The film Annabelle makes it explicit, inspired by this alleged real-life story.
Yeah, they lean into that.
Which immediately gives it that extra little layer of, maybe this could happen. It taps into that based on true events thing that can make horror feel so much more unsettling for a lot of people.
Really can amplify the dread. And that real-world connection, it leads us straight to how The Conjuring, which was this massive cinematic hit, could so quickly spawn this spin-off Goldmine.
Right. The Conjuring came out in 2013. Huge success, right? Critically acclaimed, too, which isn't always the case for horror.
Exactly. So worldwide hit, made a ton of money, got good reviews, and that success was, without a doubt, the catalyst for Annabelle. What's really interesting is how fast the studio moved. They saw how audiences reacted to the Annabelle doll in The Conjuring.
Even though it was only in it for a short time, right? That opening sequence.
A very short time, but incredibly memorable, super creepy. That strong audience reaction, that buzz around the doll, directly led to them announcing this spin-off, this prequel, really quickly after The Conjuring came out.
Wow.
It's just a classic example of seeing an element that resonates, a side character essentially, and thinking, okay, we can build something around that, turn it into a whole franchise anchor.
A prequel, meaning it tells the story before The Conjuring.
Exactly. It shows you where the doll came from, how it became haunted, before the Warrens ever got involved in the story we saw in The Conjuring. It's smart. It expands the world without needing the main stars.
Incredible how fast they jumped on that. It really shows that strategic thinking, doesn't it? It wasn't just, let's make another horror movie.
Not at all. And speaking of strategy, let's look at the team they put together and how they approached making Annabelle.
Hmm.
John R. Leonetti, who was actually the cinematographer on The Conjuring.
Oh, okay. Interesting choice.
Yeah, he steps up to direct.
Right.
Gary Dauberman, who became a big name in this universe, wrote the script. And crucially, Peter Safran and James Wan, the guys behind The Conjuring's success, they came back as producers. They knew the formula.
Right. Keep that core team involved.
Absolutely. And the studio, Warner Bros. And New Line Cinema, they had a very clear plan.
Yeah.
Make it standalone enough that new people could watch it.
So you don't have to see The Conjuring first.
Exactly. Accessible. But also definitely catered to the existing Conjuring fans, give them more lore, expand the universe subtly. The key was small budgets. Annabelle cost about $6.5 million.
Wow, that's tiny for a studio film.
Tiny and quick production times. It's that classic horror model.
Mm.
Keep the risk low, aim for potentially massive returns if it hits.
Which it definitely did.
Oh, absolutely. It's a smart way to build out a cinematic universe, test the waters for these spin-offs without betting the farm each time. They probably learned a lot from The Conjuring's marketing, too, saw what hooked people.
This really shows it was calculated, doesn't it? They saw the potential in that doll. And the casting, it's almost funny, the lead actress is named Annabelle Wallis.
Yeah, kind of perfect casting, right? She played Mia Form, and Ward Horton played her husband, John Form. They're the couple who get the doll.
And they had some strong support, too, right? Alfred Woodard was in it.
Yes. Alfred Woodard played Evelyn, a crucial supporting role. Plus, Tony Amendola, Eric Ladden, Brian Howe. A solid cast to ground the supernatural stuff.
Okay, so we've got the origins, the strategy behind it. Now let's get into the actual nightmare, the plot of Annabelle. It all starts with a gift, right? Something seemingly innocent.
That's exactly it. The setting is Santa Monica, 1967. Very specific time period. We meet John and Mia Form, young couple expecting their first baby.
Full of hope and dreams.
Totally. And John gives Mia this gift for the nursery, a rare vintage porcelain doll. She collects dolls, so it seems like a thoughtful, perfect present.
But it's that doll.
It's that doll. And for them, that innocent gift becomes the thing that just unleashes hell into their lives. It's the trigger.
And the terror hits fast, and it's tied to something real and horrifying, which makes it even creepier.
Yeah, that same night, they hear about the Manson family murders, the Tate murders, on the new real-life horror from that era.
Chilling context.
And then they hear disturbances next door at the Higgins house. Turns out it's a home invasion, the Higgins are murdered, and then the killers come for John and Mia.
Oh, God. So it connects directly to this real cult-like violence.
Directly. Mia calls the police. John tries to fight them off. The police arrive pretty quickly. They shoot the male attacker dead. But the female attacker...
What happens to her?
She runs into the nursery, and she's later identified as Annabelle Higgins, the estranged daughter of the murdered neighbors. And she's part of the satanic cult.
Annabelle Higgins, okay.
And she kills herself. Slits her throat. While holding that porcelain doll John just gave Mia.
Whoa. Okay, so that's the moment. The doll is right there, linked to this ritualistic, violent death.
Exactly. A drop of her blood lands on the doll. And it immediately raises that question. Is the doll just a thing, a conduit? Or did that act somehow imbue it with evil? The cult's whole vibe, her suicide with the doll, it really suggests a deliberate summoning, or at least opening a door for something demonic. The doll becomes the focus.
That is genuinely terrifying. That moment, connecting the mundane object to this extreme violence and ritual.
Yeah. And that's just the beginning for the forms, right?
Oh, yeah. After that attack, things start getting weird in their house. Paranormal activity starts ramping up. Mia gives birth to their daughter, Leah. They're traumatized, obviously.
So they decide to move, get away from the house where it all happened.
Right. They move to a new apartment in Pasadena, hoping for a clean break, a fresh start, escape the bad memories, the bad vibes.
But horror movie rules usually mean the evil follows you.
Pretty much. The doll reappears. John had actually thrown it away after the attack, thinking it was connected.
Smart man. But it didn't work.
Nope. Mia finds it unpacked in one of their moving boxes in the new apartment, which is just a terrifying sign, right? It's not gone. The evil came with them.
Oh, that's awful. Just finding it again like that.
And then the paranormal stuff starts up again, but it gets worse. More intense, more aggressive, targeting Mia and the baby, Leah, in this new apartment. It's relentless. So Mia starts trying to figure out what's going on. She can't just ignore it.
Exactly. She contacts the detective who worked their original case. And he tells her more about the cult Annabelle Higgins was in. Their goal: to summon a demon.
Oh, great. Not just a ghost, a demon.
A full-on demonic entity. And this is where Evelyn comes in. Alfre Woodard's character. She runs a local bookstore, also lives in their building. She becomes this source of information and support for Mia.
What does Evelyn tell her?
Evelyn knows about occult stuff, devil worship. She helps Mia understand what they're dealing with, the cult's practices, and crucially, what the demon actually wants.
Which is?
A soul. It's not just trying to scare them for fun. It needs to claim a human soul. That's its endgame.
Okay, that raises the stakes considerably.
Totally. And right around then, the demon really escalates things. Direct attacks on Mia and Leah. It stops hiding, makes it clear it's using the doll as its anchor or focus point, its tool.
So they're desperate. They turn to the church, right? Father Perez.
Yeah, Tony Mandola's character, they go to their parish priest. He explains the concept demons can attach themselves to objects like the doll to interact with our world. But he also confirms what Evelyn said. Ultimately, it needs a soul, willingly offered or taken by force.
Can he help them? Can he get rid of it?
He tries.
Yeah.
He realizes how powerful this thing is. He actually tries to take the doll away from them, intending to get help from guess who?
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Bingo. A nice little nod to the wider universe there. But as he's leaving the apartment with the doll, the demon attacks him.
The priest.
Yeah, brutally. It even appears to him as the ghost of Annabelle Higgins, just to mess with him. It reclaims the doll, puts Father Perez in the hospital, badly injured.
Wow. So the demon is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. And when John visits Father Perez in the hospital, the priest gives him this chilling warning. The demon isn't after the baby. Not really. It wants Mia's soul.
Oh my God. That's okay. So everything leads to this terrifying climax.
It does. That night, Evelyn's visiting Mia. The demon gets crafty. It uses Father Perez's physical appearance to trick its way into the apartment.
No.
Yeah. And it grabs the baby, Leah. Then it makes its demand clear. Mia's soul in exchange for Leah's life.
The ultimate sacrifice. What does Mia do?
She's desperate. She grabs the doll, runs to the window, intending to jump, to sacrifice herself, offer her soul to save her daughter.
Oh, God. Does she do it?
No, John and Evelyn get there just in time to stop her from jumping.
Yeah.
Then Evelyn steps forward.
Alfre Woodard's character.
Yeah. She makes this incredibly heartbreaking choice. She decides to offer her soul instead. She takes Mia's place, jumps out the window.
Why? Why would she do that?
She reveals it's an act of atonement. Years ago, she caused a car accident, and her own daughter, Ruby, was killed. She's carried that guilt ever since. This is her way of redeeming herself, saving another child's life.
Wow. That's incredibly heavy and powerful.
It really is. And as Evelyn dies on the pavement below, the demon, apparently satisfied now that it has a soul,
just leaves.
It vanishes. And the doll vanishes with it. Mia and John never see the doll again. Leah is safe. Their immediate nightmare is over.
But the doll isn't gone forever, right? Because we know where it ends up.
Exactly. The film gives us that chilling final scene. 6 months later, an antique shop. A mother buys that exact same doll. Seems innocent enough.
Who is she buying it for?
For her daughter, Debbie, who's a nursing student. And then the final shot. The doll locked securely in that glass case in Ed and Lorraine Warren's artifact room.
Full circle. Back to The Conjuring.
Precisely. It perfectly sets up its appearance in the first movie, gives it this whole terrifying origin story, a really effective ending that ties it all together for fans of the universe.
Okay, wow. That plot is intense. So we've got the story down. But what about actually making the movie? How did they pull off this nightmare on screen, especially with that small budget?
Well, like we touched on, the main cast was Annabelle Wallis as Mia and Ward Horton as John. They carried the film, but the critical reception of their performances wasn't exactly glowing.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Unmemorable and bland were some of the words used.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Scheck at The Hollywood Reporter used those terms. Could be the direction. Could be the script focusing more on scares than deep character dives. But the film definitely benefited from the supporting cast. Tony Mandola as Father Perez, and especially Alfre Woodard as Evelyn. She brought real weight and emotion, particularly in that climax.
That's a really interesting point about the leads, because, okay, let's unpack this a bit. If critics found the main actors kind of bland, but the movie was a massive hit.
Right.
What was it then? What grabbed audiences so hard? Was it just the doll concept? The Conjuring connection, or maybe just really effective jump scares? It highlights that gap between what critics look for and what audiences sometimes just want from a horror movie.
It's a classic puzzle in the genre, isn't it? And maybe part of the appeal, part of the mystique, comes from those behind-the-scenes stories, too.
Especially with horror.
Like what? What happened on set? Well, they filmed in places like an old bookshop in Covina, California, and this specific apartment building in L.A. And the director, John Leonetti, and the producer, Peter Safran, they actually told reporters the set was haunted.
Seriously? Or was that just marketing?
Who knows for sure. But they claimed they experienced supernatural phenomena. Lights flickering, things moving, weird noises, especially in the apartment set where Mia was being haunted.
Any specific stories?
There was one about finding this weird three-fingered scratch mark on a dusty window, right where the demon character was supposed to appear in a scene. 3 fingers, like the demon in the movie.
Okay, that's creepy. Whether it's true or just good marketing.
Exactly. If you connect that to the bigger picture, these stories, real or not, add to the mystique. They blur the line between the film and reality, which can definitely amp up the audience's interest and fear factor before they even see it.
Genius marketing, really. Plays right into what horror fans sometimes want, that feeling it could be real. And speaking of crafting fear, the music must have been key too.
Oh, absolutely crucial in horror. Joseph Bishara composed the score. He's well known in horror, did the music for The Conjuring too.
So he knows that soundscape.
He really does. He's brilliant at creating that unsettling, dissonant atmosphere. Lots of creepy textures, building tension slowly, and then bam! Those loud stingers for the jump scares. The soundtrack release itself highlights how important music is for building suspense.
Definitely. And wasn't there something unusual about how they filmed it?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting from a production standpoint. They chose to shoot the film in sequence.
Meaning in the order the story happens, like scene 1, then scene 2, etc.
Exactly. Most films shoot completely out of order. Whatever's most efficient, logistically all the scenes in one location at once, for example.
Why do it in sequence? It sounds less efficient.
It often is, and potentially more expensive.
Right.
But the director, Leonetti, wanted the actors to always know exactly where they were emotionally in the story. So their fear, their desperation, could build more naturally as filming progressed, instead of having to jump between, say, happy early scenes and terrified late scenes on the same day.
Huh. That's a subtle thing, but it makes sense. Trying to get more authentic reactions, maybe.
That seems to be the intent. Help the cast feel that escalating terror, which hopefully translates to the audience feeling it too.
Okay, so we've got this chilling story, allegedly real roots, strategic production, maybe a haunted set, a master horror composer. But now we get to the really weird part. The reception. This tale of 2 completely different reactions. Box office explosion versus critical slamming.
It's pretty dramatic. Let's start with the money, because wow, Annabelle made $257.6 million worldwide.
Against that tiny budget of $6.5 million.
Exactly. That is a massive return on investment, like almost 40 times what they spent making it. Studios dream about those kinds of profit margins. It was an undeniable smash hit financially.
Just incredible numbers. What about North America specifically? Did it open big?
Yeah, tracking initially had it around $27 million opening weekend, but then estimates kind of dipped just before release, maybe down to $22 million.
Expectations lowered a bit.
Slightly.
Yeah.
But then it opened on October 3rd, 2014, over 3,000 theaters. And it blew past those lower estimates. It actually won its opening day, Friday, with $15.4 million. That included $2.1 million just from Thursday night previews.
Strong start.
Very strong. And for the full opening weekend, it came in at number 2, but with a really impressive $37.1 million.
Number 2. What beat it?
David Fincher's Gone Girl, which was a huge, critically acclaimed thriller with big stars.
Okay. Tough competition.
Very tough. And they were incredibly close. Gone Girl made $37.5 million. They were separated by less than $400,000. So Annabelle held its own incredibly well against a prestige picture.
That really shows its popular appeal, doesn't it? To compete like that.
Definitely. It was the biggest opening for a horror film that year, 2014. Warner Bros. Distribution head, Dan Feldman, basically said it was great marketing, good timing for release.
Right before Halloween.
Exactly. And he specifically mentioned being a spin-off of The Conjuring set it up really well. That brand recognition was huge.
So that answers part of the puzzle. The Conjuring connection gave it a massive head start, and the marketing hit the right notes for the audience.
Pretty much. And it wasn't just North America. This thing was huge internationally.
Where else did it do well?
All over. Big openings in Russia, France, Brazil, the UK, Argentina, Spain, Germany, India. It just seemed to connect everywhere. That simple haunted doll concept has a pretty universal creepiness, I guess.
Any specific records broken overseas?
Oh, yeah. It set the all-time opening record for a horror movie in Peru. And it was Warner Bros. Second biggest opening ever there for any genre.
Wow, in Peru. Okay.
Yeah. And Mexico was insane. It opened to almost $11 million there. which wasn't just the biggest horror opening ever in Mexico. It was the third biggest opening of 2014 for any film, period. It took like 59% of the entire movie market that weekend. Just dominated.
It's incredible market share. Mexico loves its horror.
Clearly. And it also became the highest-grossing horror film ever in the Philippines and in Lebanon.
Oh.
So yeah, this movie had legs everywhere, proving that whatever the critics thought, audiences worldwide were eating it up.
Okay, so let's pivot to those critics. While everyone's lining up to buy tickets, the reviews were coming in, and they were not kind.
Not kind is putting it mildly. Generally negative reviews is the consensus. The main theme is that it was just inferior to its predecessor, The Conjuring.
Lacked the same quality.
Yeah. On Rotten Tomatoes, it landed a pretty dismal 28% positive score from critics, average rating around 4.5 out of 10. The site's summary basically said it just borrows from better horror films and relies on cheap jolts instead of the effectiveness of The Conjuring.
Ouch. What about Metacritic?
Even lower score there, 37 out of 100, which falls into their generally unfavorable category. Critics really didn't hold back.
Any specific quotes that stand out?
Frank Scheck, who we mentioned earlier, called it generic and formulaic, criticized the cheap production and screenplay, and found the leads unmemorable. Scott Foundas at Variety called it a cut-rate spin-off that relied on crude shock effects because it lacked craft, atmosphere, and just about every other department.
Jeez, brutal.
And Pete Hammett at Deadline just called it a not-scary doll show and said it made him wish he was watching Chucky instead. He predicted horror fans might go see it but won't be quaking over the scares.
Which, based on the $257 million box office, seems like a prediction that didn't quite pan out.
Not even close. Yeah. And that massive disconnect, that's the fascinating part, right? What explains it. Critics are looking for atmosphere, originality, maybe deeper themes.
Nuance.
Right, nuance. But maybe the general audience, especially for a horror spin-off like this, just wanted the thrill ride, the jump scares, the communal experience of screaming together in a theater.
And Annabelle delivered that, even if it wasn't high art.
Exactly. Met a different set of expectations. It's interesting, too. Cinema Score, which polls opening night audiences, gave it a B grade.
Which isn't amazing, but it's definitely not terrible either. Certainly better than the critical scores.
Much better. It shows that the people actually paying to see it were reasonably satisfied, even if critics weren't.
Mm-hmm.
A clear split.
It's such a great example of that critical versus audience divide. And even with the bad reviews, it still got some award nominations, right? Though maybe not all positive ones.
Yeah, a real mixed bag. It got nominated for Best Horror at the Empire Awards, which is respectable. Got nods for things like Best Horror Poster, even an MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Scared a Saint performance for Annabelle Wallis.
Okay, so some recognition for being effectively scary, at least.
But then it also got nominated for Worst Film by the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. Fangoria knows horror, so that stings a bit. It just reinforces that conflicting signal people were watching it and made an impact, but the quality was definitely debated.
So maybe the biggest takeaway from Annabelle's strange journey isn't just the money it made or the critics it annoyed. It's how this film really cemented the idea of a bigger universe, right? It proved the Conjuring world could expand.
Absolutely. Its impact goes way beyond just being a standalone hit. It had a strong life after theaters, too. Came out on DVD and Blu-ray pretty quickly.
Keeping the revenue stream going.
Exactly. And importantly, later it was included in that big Conjuring Universe 7-film collection box set. That really positions it as a key piece, essential viewing for understanding the whole interconnected story.
And it directly led to more Annabelle movies, didn't it? The success was too big to ignore.
Oh, immediately. By October 2014, just weeks after it opened, they were already talking sequel, which actually turned into a prequel, Annabelle. Create.
That came out in 2017.
Yep. Gary Dauberman, who wrote the first one, came back to write it. And they got David F. Sandberg to direct, who had just done Lights Out, another hit horror film.
And Creation digs deeper into the doll's origins.
Yeah, it goes back even further. Shows the doll maker who actually created the doll, the tragedy involving his daughter, and how the demonic presence first attached itself to the doll when they tried to contact their daughter's spirit. Then it shows the doll terrorizing orphans years later. It really fleshed out the mythology.
And then there was another one after that.
There was. Annabelle Comes Home in 2019. This one was kind of a sequel to the original Annabelle, but also fit within the main Conjuring timeline. Gary Dauberman not only wrote it, but also directed this one, his directorial debut.
And Juan and Safran still producing, keeping that oversight.
Yep, James Wan and Peter Safran were back as producers. Consistency was key. This one focused on the Warrens bringing the Annabelle doll home to their artifact room and the chaos that ensues when it gets loose and activates other haunted objects.
Okay, so connecting a lot back to the Warrens' house.
Exactly. So if you look at the bigger picture, Annabelle wasn't just successful on its own. It proved this single creepy doll could carry multiple films. It showed the Conjuring Universe could successfully spin off characters and entities, not just rely on Ed and Lorraine's main cases. It opened the floodgates for The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, all those other entries. It showed the model worked.
It's amazing, really, how a supporting element, basically a prop in the first movie, became this huge horror icon. She even popped up in pop culture outside the films, right?
She did,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. During the pandemic lockdowns in 2020, 2021, Warner Bros. Actually released this short mockumentary-style video on YouTube.
What was it?
It was called Annabelle in Quarantine. Apparently, the real Annabelle doll, the one in the Warrens Museum, was moved during the pandemic, and this short film playfully showed the movie Annabelle doll just being bored, wandering around the empty Warner Bros. Offices, getting into mischief during quarantine.
Ah, that's hilarious. A horror icon doing a quarantine vlog.
Pretty much. It just goes to show how recognizable she'd become, right? That she could be used for something lighthearted like that. She transcended just being a movie monster. She was a pop culture figure.
That really speaks volumes about her status.
It does. And it all comes back to Annabelle, the film, being that crucial second installment, that first really successful spin-off. It proved the whole Conjuring Universe concept had massive potential, paving the way for it to become one of the biggest horror franchises ever.
What a wild ride for a creepy doll movie. Just unexpected on so many levels.
Truly remarkable.
Okay, so we have really dug deep into Annabelle today. And what a fascinating journey it's been, right? We saw how this movie, got slammed by critics, but became this absolute monster at the box office, made a fortune on a tiny budget.
Just staggering numbers.
And more than that, it was pivotal. It really launched the Conjuring Universe as a viable, expandable franchise, showed they could spin off stories successfully. It's this really unique mix of, supposed real-life hauntings,
The Warren connection.
smart, strategic filmmaking, and just a really effective, terrifying central figure that tapped into something universal about creepy dolls.
Absolutely. So now you really have the full picture, how this single haunted doll went from being just a scary story the Warrens told to this global horror icon headlining her own successful movie series within that larger universe. It's quite the story of horror success.
It really is, and it leaves us with a pretty interesting question to chew on, doesn't it? Given everything we've discussed, Annabelle's power to scare millions, make huge profits, all while critics were mostly unimpressed.
What does that really tell us about what audiences actually want from horror?
Yeah, is it the gut reaction? The jump scares, the shared thrill in the dark, that visceral experience?
Or is it the stuff critics usually value more, the nuanced story, the deep characters, the slow burn atmosphere? Annabelle's success seems to suggest that sometimes, for a lot of people, the scares themselves are enough.
It definitely raises questions about how we define success and quality in horror. Critics versus crowds. Something to definitely think about until our next deep dive.